I was mentioning about my dream of simulating Astadhyayi, trying to understand Astadhyayi from Paninian perspective. So here, in order to understand Astadhyayi, we need to understand three things. One is the rules, the syntax of the rules. So, and the syntax is very well discussed by Panini himself. He has given meta rules, bhashas, where he gives the meanings of Panchami, Saptami, and Shashti, etc. Tasminiti nirdishte purvasya tasmatiti uttarasya, and so on. Apart from these sutras, apart from understanding the syntax, we also need to understand how these rules interact with each other. So if there are more than one rules applicable at a given point in time, then which rule wins? And Panini has given a sutra Vipratishedhe Param Karyam. But then what is the scope of Vipratishedhe Param Karyam? And whether this is solely sufficient? These are some of the questions which come to our mind. And once the rule is selected and applied, third thing which we have observed is Panini has used the word asiddha. So the output of of course, there are Karya Siddha and Shastra Siddha. I will not go in details of these because all of us are familiar with it. So the question is now how to model this from computational perspective. So suppose I want to build a machine which will simulate Astadhyayi, which will work in the same way as our brain works when we follow Astadhyayi to get the desired form. So suppose we start with Rama plus Su, and then various sutras are applied, and finally we get Rama. Whatever procedure that happens in our mind, suppose we want to simulate it computationally, then we also need to look at these rule interaction and rule selection, and especially we will be interested in knowing the word asiddha, what it means. So there are three sutras, as all of us know: Purvatra Siddham, Asiddhavat Atrabhat, and Shatvatukora Siddha. And of course, Vipratishedhe Param Karyam is also interacting with all of them. So the question is now how to model it. So some 15 years ago, when Dr. Pavan Goyal, Professor Pavan Goyal, was working with me, we came up with some model. So Himanshu, can you show that model? The next slide. Yes. So we came up with this model, and then later on, of course, I was using this model to teach the computational aspect of it and understanding asiddha, etc. And this year, when I was teaching this to Himanshu, we noticed that there are some problems in this model. So today, Himanshu is going to tell us what are the problems in this and how we have modified it. But before that, just let me tell what are these D0, D1, etc. D0 is, so here what we are doing is, what we have understood from the asiddha is space is there, which is not visible to certain rules. So here D0 is a space which is visible to all the sutras, but D1 is a space which is not visible to asiddha sutras from the Asiddhavat Prakarana, and D2 is the space which is not visible to the sutras from the Shatva and Tuk, because Ekadesha is happening here, and SD0, SD1, these are the states which are visible to SD1 is visible to all the sutras after Ekadesha, and SD0 is visible to all the sutras once the Asiddhavat sutras from Asiddhavat are applied. And then when it is Ekadesha, then Shatva is not applicable. So except Shatva, all other sutras can be applied. And for SD0, any sutra from Tripadi can be applied. And D3 is the space which is visible only to the sutras from Tripadi section, and there also there is a kind of nestedness. That means the sutras at the top of the Tripadi can see whatever is below, but the sutras at the bottom cannot see. The later sutra cannot see the space of the previous sutra. So this is what we have, and now maybe is. Himanshu, you can go ahead with the presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Sarvebhyo namo namaha. Now I'll directly start with the while explaining the design. So the E refers to the Ekadesha Vidhayaka Sutrani. A refers to the Asiddhavat, the sutras which come in under Asiddhavat section, means the Adhikara of Asiddhavat Atrabhat, which starts from 6.4.22 and it is till the end of the Shashtadhyaya. And W refers for Tuk Vidhayaka Sutrani, R for Shatva, and O for other rules. Other rules means other rules except Shatva, Tuk, Asiddhavat, and Ekadesha Vidhayaka. T refers to Tripadi, and T minus R is Tripadi without Shatva. So now we'll see that there were some problems in the earlier model. The problems were, as we can see that in the diagram, other rules means Shatva and Tuk are shown in the same pathway. We can see the green arrow over there near D0 where they are shown in the same pathway. Other rules are means Shatva and Tuk. So because this, what was happening is Tuk and Shatva was coming together. While Tuk is in Sapada Saptadhyayi and Shatva is in Tripadi. So by this model, both Tripadi and Sapada Saptadhyayi were coming together, and this was violating the structure of Ashtadhyayi. So as Shatva went to the Tripadi, a problem arrived, that was the Shatva Vidhayaka Sutras, as they are in Tripadi, there are Asiddha for the Sutras in Sapada Saptadhyayi. But as Shatva moved to the Tripadi, it cannot conclude the Asiddha relation between the Shatva and the Sapada Saptadhyayistha rules. So this was completely violating the jurisdiction of Purvatara Siddham. And this was the second problem we encountered. The third problem was, see, after the application of Asiddhava Datrabhat, when we move to D1, the blue arrow of A, we move to D1 after the application of Sutra from the Asiddhavat section. And after that, if Shatva Vidhayaka Sutra is applicable, then the green arrow goes back to D0 and our input goes back to D0. And after that, we come to the stable state SD0. And after that, again, we pass to D3 through the pathway of Tripadi. So the Shatva is done before only, and after that in Tripadi also the Shatva is contained over there. So there is double application of Shatva Vidhayaka Sutrani. So that was one problem. And the fourth problem was the major one. This is because after the application of Ekadesha, from D0 we will move on to D2. And after the application of Ekadesha, if other sutras are applicable, the loop will go back to D0. And after that, it will go to SD0. And then through Tripadi, it will go to D3. So if Ekadesha takes place, and after that other sutras are applicable, then via this SD0 and Tripadi, Shatva is applicable again. So there is no application of Shatva to Kora Siddha. And the purpose of Shatva to Kora Siddha will go in vain completely. So this was a major problem in this old model. So by understanding these problems, we got a need that we'll design a new model, which we'll be explaining further. So now the new simulator model, the diagram is over there. The ideologies are the same, that E refers to Ekadesha, A for Asiddhavat, R for Shatva, W for Tuk, T for Tripadi, and O for other rules. So what change we have made is that we can see the O near D0, D1, D3, D2, all we have looped around itself. So there is no again looping to back to D0 and SD0 and all. That's why we have reduced some data spaces also, and we have attained a good work upon that. Again, this simulator model takes insights from Katyayana's Vartika, Asiddha Vachanam, Adesha Lakshana Pratishedhartham, Utsarga Lakshana Bhavartham cha. And by using all this, we have developed different pathways for 6.4.22, which is Asiddhava Datrabhat, and 6.186, which is Shatvatukor Asiddha. and we have not included Shatva in Sapada Saptadhyayi. So we are following the structure of Tripadi and Sapada Saptadhyayi as it was advised by Panini. So now we'll see the examples and the pathways. So the first pathway is D0 to SD0 and then to D5, which is the final state. So we'll have example Rameshu. So in the D0 state, we'll have the input Rama plus Sup. So अर्थवदधातुर प्रत्यय प्रातिपदिकम कृतदित समासाश्च प्रत्ययः परश्च न्या प्रातिपदिकात्. So all these sutras will be applicable in the state of D0, and we can see the prakriya over here. All these sutras are applicable, and when after all the sutras from Sapada Saptadhyayi are applied, the input will go to SD0, which is a stable state, and from that it will go through Tripadi, where it will encounter the sutras of Apadantasya Murdhanyah, Inkoho, and Adesha Pratyayoho, which will prescribe the augmentation of Shatva over there, and therefore we get the output as Rameshu. So this is the first pathway. Now the second pathway, which includes the ideology of Adesha Lakshana Pratishedha as per Katyayana. So we have the Rupa Jahi. So Hanadhatuhu, all that Bhuvadeyo Dhatavaha Upadeshe Jananasika Ittasya Lopa, all these sutras will be applicable in the D0 state until Kartarishap, Adi Prabhritibhyo Shapaha, and Seriha Picha. So until Seriha Picha is applicable, all the operation will take place in D0 state itself. But when Hanterjaha Sutra is applied, that Hanterjaha Sutra is in the Adhika Fasiddha Tatrabhat. So after the application of Hanterjaha, the input will move to D1, and the change taken place is Ja plus He, because Hanterjaha prescribes the substitution of Ha with Ja after He. So Ja plus He will be stored in D1. After that, we have a sutra called Atohehe, which is also in the Asiddhava Tatrabhat's jurisdiction. So that sutra will not see the change Jahi, and it will see the first state, means D0. It will see Han plus He, and therefore Atohehe will not be applied to Han plus He, as there is no condition of application for Atohehe, and will get the desired word form Jahi. So by this we can see here that Adesha Lakshana Pratishedha, tatra Hatohehe does the Lopadesha, and tasya Pratishedha atra jata iti karanat Adesha Lakshana Pratishedhatvam atra drishyate. Afterwards, we have the second property of Asiddhatva, that is Utsarga Lakshana Bhava. For that, we have the example Shadhi. So, Shasa Dhatu, Tasya Bhuvadayo Dhatava iti Dhatu Sangya. All these sutras are applicable in the D0 itself. Again, you can see here until the Seriha Picha state. After the application of Seriha Picha, we have two sutras from Asiddhavat section, Asiddhavat Atrabhat section, Shahau and Hujalbhyo Herdhihi. So, when Shahau and Hujalbhyo Herdhi, they have a Samanashraya, which is Shasa Dhatu and Hi Pratyaya. So what will happen is, when Shahau will be applicable to this state, Shas plus He, then it will substitute Shas to Sha, and the change taken place, Sha plus He, will be stored in D1. And when Hujalbhyo Herdhi will be applied, it will not see the change taken place in D1. It will see the Utsarga Lakshanam in D0, that is Shas plus He. And as seeing the Jhalan Tattva of Shas, it will change He to Thi. And hence both the changes will be stored to D1. And when we get both the changes to D1, it will pass to SD0. And from there, from Tripadi, it will go to D5 and we'll get the output as Shadhi. So here we can see how beautifully the concept of Adesha Lakshana, Pratishedha and Utsarga Lakshana Bhava have been accommodated in this model. Now the third pathway, this is about the application of Sutra Shatvatukor Asiddha. So in Shatvatukor Asiddha also, this Vartika Adesha Lakshana Pratishedha and Utsarga Lakshana Bhava was originally given in the Sutra Shatvatukor Asiddha. So we'll see the examples of that. The pathway is D0 to D2, then to SD1 and then to D5. So we have Udaharana Adhitya. So Adhiti Upasarga Purvakat Inadhatuhu. Then we'll see the sutra, the Halantyam Tasya Lopaha Samana Kartrukayoho Purvakale Akas Savarne Dirga, all these sutras. now, well, we are in the state like this. The lyap pratyaya, sorry, the twa pratyaya is replaced by lyap, and the condition here is adhi plus e plus lyap. So in this state, first the ekadesha will take place, and adhi dirgha adhi iti change will be stored to d2. After that, rasvasya piti kriti tuk will see the roop in d0 itself. It will not see the change occurred in d2. So rasvasya piti kriti tuk will see adhi plus e plus tugagama, and after tugagama, both the tugagama, after tugagama also the roop will be stored in d2. So we have adhitya iti combined rupa. So this is an example of utsarga lakshana bhava again, of the property of asiddhatva. Now we have kosya, where we have shatva nishedha by the rule shatva tukor asiddha. So kim iti pratipadikam tasya supratyayah, and kimah kaha adeshah, then ko kim plus asya iti tasya rupam adau, tarhi kimah kaha adeshah bhavati. After that we can see all the process in the table, all those sutras are applied in d0 itself, and when engah padantad ati, this sutra is applied, it will go to d3, because what happens is engah padanta, sorry, it will go to d2, because engah padantad ati sutra does ekadesha under the adhikara of ekah purvaparayoho, and this ekadesha vihita rupam will be stored in d2, and after that, when the application of shatva is there, we have taken a principle that what shatva tukor asiddha basically says that shatve tukicha kartavye ekadeshah asiddha. Nama shatvasya nimittah bhavati ekadeshah, सः एकादेशः यदा असिद्धः भवति तर्हि शत्वं न प्रवर्तते इति सूत्रस्य तत्र आशयः भवति. What we have done here is, when ekadesha, so we have taken a input from that whenever there is ekadesha from the adhikara of ekah purvaparayoho, the shatva will not take place. So in this side of the diagram, we can see there is T minus R. So there is no shatva included in the Tripadi section. So by this process, we have also eliminated the possibility of shatva when there is ekadesha. So here ekadesha has taken place, and therefore due to shatva tukor asiddha, the ekadesha becomes asiddha, and we don't have the shatva, and we get the roop kosya. Now we have the fourth pathway, which is D0 to D3, SD1 and SD5. This is a simple pathway which shows the ekadesha, and the rule and the rupa is ramena. So ram plus ta, this is the input, and arthavadhatura pratyaya pratipadikam kritadit samasascha pratyayah parascha nya pratipadikat. All these sutras will be applied in the D0 state itself, and when adgunaha, this ekadesha vidhayaka sutra is applied, the input will go to D3, and there after that it will go to SD1, that is the stable state, and from that it will go through Tripadi, where Atkup Vangnum Vyavayepi we have this sutra, and Natva will take place, and we'll get the Rupa Ramena. Now we'll see the next pathway, which is related to Tugagama. This Tugagama is not what we say. So this is Tugagama, which is different from the Tugagama of Shatva tukor asiddha. So we have, if a normal Tugagama takes place without ekadesha, so it is upa plus upakrutya. So upa plus kuru plus twa, then it is replaced by lyap. While all application of these sutras, the input is in D0 state, but when rasvasya piti kriti tuk is applied, the input will get passed on to D4, and there Tugagama will become, and after that Halantyam, this sutra is there which comes under the other rules, so it will go back to D0, and then it will go back to SD0, and then to D5. So this is the way this simulator works according to the privacy of data spaces. So the earlier model was there, and how we have resolved the problems in earlier model. In this model, we have separated other rules, Shatva and Tuk, placed Shatva in Tripadi, which arranges them according to the Astadhyayi structure. Second one, as Shatva is placed in Tripadi, it does not violate the jurisdiction of Purvatra Siddham, and hence the rules in Tripadi can be asiddha for the rules in the Sapada Saptadhyayi. As we have separated other rules, Shatva and Tuk, After the application of Asiddhava Tatrapat, the input will be in D1, and if Shatva is applicable further, it will proceed to SD0 and then pass through Tripadi to obtain Shatva. By this pathway, we have reduced one step by sending input directly to SD0 rather than D0, and also the problem of double application of Shatva is solved. And the fourth one is that in this model, after the application of Ekadesha, if other rules are applicable, then the simulator will loop around the state D2 itself and perform the respective operations and then move on to SD1 and further on to D5 through the pathway from where Shatva is excluded from Tripadi. As a result, Shatva will not take place, and hence the purpose of Shatva to Kor Asiddha will be successful. So this is the conclusion that this model uses the concept of Adesha Lakshana Pratishedha and Utsarga Lakshana Bhava, where Shatvatukor Asiddha and Asiddhava Tatrabhat are applicable. And this model deals with the conflict resolution stated by sutras Shatvatukor Asiddha, Asiddhava Tatrabhat, Purvatara Siddham, and Vipratishedha Param Karyam. So what is the scope for further research in this model? As we know that only Vipratishedhe Param Karyam is not sufficient to deal with all the word forms in the Astadhyayi. So we have to include the Vartikas prescribing Purva Pratishedha. So there are nearly 30 Vartikas given by Katyayana which advise us to do Purva Pratishedha. So we have not yet included those Vartikas in our model. And also we have not included the concept of Antaranga, Bahiranga, Nitya, Anitya, Utsarga and Apavada, which play a very important role in the Paninian system. So we will be looking forward to include all these concepts in our model, and will be enhancing it in coming years. Thank you.